Thanks for joining us. We have a really exciting conversation planned about the future of work, and the experts up here with me are not only building products that change the way that we will work and live, but I think a lot of what they're doing also speaks to the decentralization of opportunity and what our lives can look like in a new digital economy for the better. So I'm really excited to introduce this group. I think Ruben, I'll start off with you. Could you just introduce yourself and what you do at AirTM?
Sure. How's it going? Thanks for having us. I'm Ruben Galindo. I'm the CEO of AirTM. We create infrastructure to help enable the future of the digital economy and I guess the adoption of it in developing world regions. As you know, there's a lot of people there that need access to more earning opportunities, and we believe the online economy has them. And so the way we enable it is by creating financial services for enterprises that need to deliver payments to people or collect payments from people, by giving people access to a dollar account with which they can interact with these enterprises and with a global economy. And lastly, by creating digital or cross-border payment infrastructure capable of tying those two ends up, of course, Stellar and USDC, and also very specialized proprietary infrastructure that allows us to collect and deliver payments in country very fast and very cheaply. So it's very common for you to have to pay $6, 6%, and to wait 6 days to receive a payment in your country. In AirTM, you can withdraw or deposit money for 40 cents, 3%, and in 6 minutes.
Thanks, Ruben.
We process like $1 billion of transactions a year.
Awesome. Yes, definitely a round of applause for that. Jonathan Chester from Bitwage, could you introduce yourself and what you guys are doing at Bitwage?
Yeah, so I am CEO, co-founder of Bitwage. We provide cryptocurrency and stablecoin payroll invoicing services globally and also domestic services. So you can either offer us as a benefit for your domestic employees to get a portion of your salary in Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, or you can use us to pay your global workforces. Typically with stable coins using crypto as an intermediary or through even traditional fiat rails into people's bank accounts. We have both a B2B and a B2C service. The B2B service, we're onboarding companies who can pay out their workers and manage their workforces, manage invoices, expenses, and so on. We also have a B2C service where you're able to generate local bank accounts in the US, the EU, the UK, Canada, for you to actually receive your money, connect to invoices to invoice any client, connect to any employer, and then you can then get deposited into whatever wallet or bank account that you choose on payday. So we're non-custodial, we're not even a wallet or a bank account, and our goal is to essentially enable anyone and everyone to get paid the way that they want seamlessly. Not to get locked into particular wallets or banks, and to be able to essentially get paid anywhere as if you were getting paid locally.
Great. I think crypto for payroll is definitely a use case that we're excited about at SDF, especially Danelle. So good to have you here. And then last but not least, we have Rick Rootwiesen from ClickPay Says, Get Paid. Can you introduce a little bit about yourself and what you're doing?
Yeah, sure. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rick Groothuizen. I'm the CEO and co-founder of ClickPesa. ClickPesa is active in the East African region, 3 countries, Kenya, Rwanda, and Tanzania. We have been working with Stellar technology since 2017, and since 2020 we became a Stellar anchor for the 3 countries, as well as a stablecoin issuer. That is one of our services. So basically, anchor services in those 3 countries, paying in, paying out. And then our second service is for SMEs and freelancers. For SMEs, we provide digital tools under the ClickPesa brand, which is SMEs in that region. For freelancers, we We offer it under another product called Get Paid, which also provides a set of digital tools, a wallet, as well as a community, whereby in the community freelancers can earn, learn, as well as connect with each other.
Cool. So a platform for freelancers to connect to opportunity and also get paid
Yeah.
in the way that they would like.
And that touches a lot on today's topic.
Great. So I think, obviously this session is about the future of work, but I think it would be difficult not to reflect on how the pandemic in the last 2 years have changed the way that a lot of us approach and think about work. So this is an open question for the group. Would anyone like to start with kind of how they see the pandemic shaping or having shaped the opportunity for digital tools and for people in the way that they connect to work?
Sure, I can take a crack at that. Well, you could say that the pandemic drove a ton of people to work online, obviously. But from my perspective, and Airteam's perspective, the pandemic really just hit our countries very hard. Our GDP contracted, on average, in Latin America and Mexican, 7%. And it rebounded to 6.8 the year after the pandemic. What that means for people is that all the progress we had made in the last few years has been shaven off. There were 37% of our people belonged to the middle class, and that's because education levels had risen in the last decade. But we took a step back, at least 3 years. And now you have a ton of people that are well educated, but have no income opportunities. And you all know what we do in Latin America when there's no income opportunities, especially if you're being affected by poverty, which affects like 34% of people. We leave sometimes, right? Or we really struggle. And the thing is that you don't need to make a lot of money if you're Latin American to belong to the middle class. You need to make like $14, or sometimes, I guess, the higher end of the spectrum, $70 to belong to your country's middle class. And from our perspective, that's silly. There's so many ways to make money online. On the low end, a digital entrepreneur, which is what we call an online worker, makes about $25,000. That's in the US. You can think of that as a freelancer, a gamer, a streamer, a retail investor, a marketplace participant, a gigger, someone that sells something on e-commerce. There's a myriad of opportunities. And the reason why we believe that what we're doing is important is because if there's no cross-border payments that are able of giving these people that are making such little volume or such little money for their activities, it's difficult for this economy, this digital economy, to actually flourish. That's why we believe micropayments are important. If you think of someone that's making $15 a day, well, just imagine getting paid in PayPal and having to pay PayPal $5 to withdraw your money, and from 6 to 10% on FX and just commissions, and then taking 6 days to receive that payment. The cross-border payment infrastructure that's available today makes it very hard for this economy to thrive. And even though there's a ton of opportunities out there, without there being this infrastructure, which we can enable thanks to Stellar in a way, well, this economy can't actually flourish. So that's what we think of, I guess, the pandemic and what it has done to a region, and what we believe we have to do as, I guess, entrepreneurs in this space to help our region out and really help people help themselves.
Yeah, that's great. Jonathan, do you want to add to that?
Yeah. So I think that the pandemic has really radically changed the way that people work. It gave rise to the remote workforce, right? I mean, this was like a grand social experiment that pretty much happened all around the world, where all of a sudden everyone had to work from home for 3 months, 6 months, a year, however long it was, and what they were doing with your company. And I think that it really opened companies' eyes as to the viability of this. There were a couple other things that got mixed up during the beginning of COVID. We had this concept of the Great Resignation, which is a concept that, there were a lot of people, millennials, Gen Z, who were deciding, I no longer want to work at my corporate job, I want to be my own boss, so they quit, working wherever they were, and this created a huge employee shortage. And the employee shortage meant that companies need to think of new ways to fill those roles. Some of those roles might have been adding new benefits. We saw a big surge of companies wanting to implement Bitcoin payroll as a benefit during that time. And that was to attract people domestically. But also, we saw more and more companies looking to hire internationally. And those companies were turning to stablecoins, like the USDC on Stellar. We also saw a huge growth in a new kind of employment product category called employer of record, international employer of record companies. And these companies essentially take on the HR and compliance risk of you hiring all around the world. And these blew up. And there's data that's showing with these companies that about 5% of the payouts from the major platforms are in cryptocurrency, which means that there's about 5% demand of transactional volume in cryptocurrency for these employer of record platforms. And when we look at how big that market can be, our estimates is that with the number of freelancers and gig workers internationally, there's going to be about $1 to $2 trillion a year to be processed paying international workforces.
Rick, do you have anything else to add to that? How have you seen kind of get paid adoption and reaction to that since the pandemic? What are you hearing from users?
It's quite similar what they have experienced with Get Paid. We focus on freelancers, of course. We have a wallet. Those freelancers are getting paid via fiat or crypto in that wallet, often from customers in the US and Europe. So what we've really seen at the beginning of the pandemic, that on both sides accelerated. So on the gig giver or the work giver side, the companies shortage on work staff, for example, so a bigger need for freelancers. Whereby we focus on East Africa, and we saw there was from those companies a much bigger demand, and also the willingness to look over borders and to look at that region, or to look at Africa in general. And then on the gig taker side, the freelancer creator, we saw that there was a big increase in interest to doing actually remote work. Like also East Africa got a big hit during the pandemic. For example, the countries are very dependent on tourism. So you saw that there was an influx of people that actually worked in tourism that started to look for other jobs in the digital field. So we've seen on both sides that it really accelerated, and with that, of course, the need for the right tools to have it all working smoothly.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So you both create this infrastructure for people that work online in a way to collect crypto payments. Once you deliver it, how do you help them offboard the value into local currency? I guess there's an answer to...
So Get Paid is a product of ClickPesa. So the reason we could go to that opportunity so fast is that with ClickPesa we are an anchor. We have pay in, pay out rails already. So we were able to quickly utilize that. So we actually built the Get Paid app on the ClickPesa platform, the pay in, pay out functionality. So you can basically see Get Paid. It's a product that we in-house developed with ClickPesa, but it could basically be any party that could have created such app on our infrastructure. And that is also the power of being an anchor and having that all standardized through Stellar. So we were able to quickly switch as we had the pay-in, pay-out infrastructure already, as well as the technical capability.
And are the flows that you have balanced and therefore yielding a small spread?
Yeah, so we take a small spread on that by funds coming in crypto and fiat, which we receive in USDC, and then the users in GetPaid convert that into local currencies, and we take the spread on that. We work with Wire for fiat. So, for example, card and SEPA payments that comes in USDC and USD, and that we convert in USDC through Wire, and then we do the local conversion.
And locally, whenever you're liquidating that USDC in exchange of the local currency, do you have to go to an external market to liquidate it?
No, we do that ourselves with ClickPesa. So actually the interesting thing for us was that with ClickPesa, we have more outflow. So we also saw this as an opportunity to create more inflow and balance that. And that's where there's still more outflow, but it is reducing. So it actually, apart from an opportunity for those freelancers, it's also created an opportunity for us to balance it more.
And what is the demand for ClickPesa locally? Why do you have more outflows than inflows?
It's two types of customers. We have, of course, from the beginning, like crypto traders. So in East Africa, there are no exchanges apart from P2P, so local Bitcoin, Binance, for example. So from the beginning, by offering our service, we saw a group that basically wants into crypto, so they can do that via us on an off-ramp. And we see also a group of for example, SMEs that have to send funds outside, for example, traders or any other company purchasing services abroad. So that group is more and more upcoming, growing. Those are the types of groups that create the outflow.
And Jonathan, I want to give you a chance to respond to Ruben's question, how some of this maybe works on Bitwage's end as well.
Okay, sure. Didn't want to disrupt such an interesting conversation, but yeah. So we take a different approach. Our belief is that we need to create a system that allows people to get paid into the wallets and the bank accounts that they want. If you think about how you get paid today, your employer doesn't say, hey, you need a BNP Paribas account, create one, we'll pay you into it. If you actually want your money in Barclays, you gotta wire it out on payday, right? They just say, give us your SEPA account or your account and routing number, we're gonna just deposit into those bank details. And so our vision is to enable that kind of infrastructure for all of the systems out there that are doing any kind of direct deposit for your pay. So you're not locked into a particular wallet just because your employer is working with one wallet or another, right? You have to perhaps take on the risk of the fact that your employer decided to work with Celsius and now all your paycheck is stuck in that circumstance. So instead, we allow you to direct deposit into any wallet, into any bank account on payday. So you can choose, USDC Stellar to go into your Vibrant app. And that way you have stable coins for your saving and the ability to convert that into local currency as you need it. And of course, we want to partner with wallets and exchanges who we can then introduce and educate to our employees for people who don't know or don't have that experience or that wallet already, but still giving people the choice. Because really, 5 years down the road, every bank, every fintech, major tech companies, think Facebook, Meta, Google, these guys will all have their own cryptocurrency wallets, and people are going to have their preferred wallets that they want to direct deposit into.
And Jonathan, you're kind of touching on something that I was going to ask you as well. I think it's important to flag that the future of work and this opportunity is not just for, employees and freelancers. You're also creating tools that help companies tap into this freedom of, how they would like to offer people, more options for how they work and how they get paid. So do you want to talk a little bit about maybe the B2B?
Yeah, so
tools?
the key thing with the B2B side is you just abstract everything and all the risk away from the company, right? So a lot of companies, they don't know anything about cryptocurrency. They don't want to have cryptocurrency on their balance sheet because all of a sudden they have, new tax regime to consider, a new accounting system that they need to consider. They have to deal with risks around their private key holdings, risks around their employees, public key holdings. So, we abstract all of that out. We allow companies to, determine different types of users, whether they're, employees or they're contractors or they're admins. We allow them to have an invoice management system that gives them all the reporting that they need to be compliant. They have PDFs, multiple different kinds of CSVs that they can download, all so that the companies can, integrate this system, give their employees, total freedom to get paid the way that they want to get paid, but they can do it compliantly. And we take an approach that is a little bit more conservative. We don't just allow any coin onto our service, right? We don't want people to get their entire paycheck in the equivalent of a Terra Luna, right? And then lose it all because they got caught up in the hype. And in terms of stable coins with USDC, right now we only offer Ethereum and Stellar, and that's because even though there are these other blockchains like Solana and Cardano that may have coins that are worth more than XLM right now, they're actually much younger blockchains. And 5 years down the road, we don't know if they're going to still have that staying power that they have now, whereas Stellar's been live and it's been used and it's been tested for a much greater amount of time.
And you have someone who has recently opted into getting paid in USDC on Stellar.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
So we recently started working with a UFC fighter, Guido Cantonelli, who is getting 100% of his salary in USDC Stellar through the Vibrant app. This is part of sort of an ongoing effort we have with athletes that we work with. We have an NFL player, we have several professional soccer players, and several UFC fighters on our platform. And we see working with athletes as a way to educate, right? Because athletes often are people that are looked up to and that people want to replicate. And so we try to work with athletes specifically to increase education on what it means to get paid in crypto, so that they know that it's safe, that it's possible, that the everyday person can do it. Mm-hmm. And so this is probably the first athlete to get paid in USDC Stellar that we've enabled.
Yeah.
I have a question. So that means that there's people that opt in without their companies offering this as a service. So how does that process work if you want to get paid with Bitcoin or with USDC on Stellar? What do you do?
Yeah. So for our B2C product, we generate a bank account for that worker, USD, Euro, GBP, CAD. And then either if they're an employer, you can connect that into the direct deposit, or if they're a client, we actually have like a custom invoice system. So you can generate legal invoices and then email them directly to your clients so that they can pay through that. And it's that simple. You just generate your account, tell us where you want your money to go, wallet or bank account, whatever percentage split you want, and you get paid.
So maybe for Ruben and Rick, I think Jonathan brought up kind of an interesting angle on this, where we kind of have a definition sometimes of what a freelancer looks like, or what a virtual job or worker looks like. But I think you all are showing in different ways that this definition is really expanding, especially with the opportunities that Web3 presents and the ethos that Web3 presents to, kind of think of things in a more decentralized way. Ruben, I've heard you talk a lot about like digital entrepreneurs. And Rick, you mentioned like a few different opportunities that people have on Get Paid to earn. It's not just work, but learning and like Ruben, I think you via AirTM work with gamers as well. So I think you all are tapping into different types of workers that we wouldn't necessarily think of when we think of freelancers. So can you both talk a little
Sure.
bit about that?
And I guess there's a line to be drawn in between payroll and contract work that makes it such that our products are drastically different. For AirTM or for Bitwage to be an employer of reference, Jonathan would have to figure out how to hire someone locally, legally, and compliantly. So that's a line that AirTM does not cross. We try to not be the employer of choice. We're just there to disperse payments to people that maybe do more of one-off work, or you could see them as contractors, where the worker itself is liable for complying with local tax regulations. And that allows us to be in this, we call the digital entrepreneur space, where there's millions of people that have odd online jobs, and well, they need access to them. And the way that access them now is that they do answer a survey, help some machine learning algorithm get trained. Sometimes they will translate something. Sometimes they are earning money on Axie, and they get paid $10 here, $5 there, and we just help them get access to these opportunities by making these companies more compatible with people's local money. So basically, we get them, these companies, opportunity providers we call them, we get them set up with an AirTM account they could use to distribute payments en masse. And they range from remote or a Scale AI, or sometimes even NGOs, and they sometimes distribute 20,000 payments at once. For instance, right now we're paying out 20,000 payments, or payments to 20,000 Venezuelans that are helping the Guaido government. And they're very small payments, they're like $30 each. And so by helping them, the Juan Guaido government, or Scale AI, which is this platform to train your machine learning algorithm, hooked up to USDC and our mass payments products, they're able to distribute mass payments just with a click of a button, and then have the people that are working or seizing these opportunities, the digital entrepreneurs or these geek online workers, basically, have most of the money that got remitted to them land in their bank account. And we have this unique infrastructure which allows us to deliver money. Basically, the efficiency of this remittance is very high. For a micro remittance, that is very rare. If you send money to someone from an enterprise to someone's bank account using the Teller, Skrill, PayPal, Payoneer, you'll see maybe a 60 to 70% efficiency, meaning that 60 to 70% of the money that got sent will actually be received by the digital entrepreneur because of all the fees, right? And so with our infrastructure, we'll get to like 95% remittance at a very low value payment, which is very important for this digital entrepreneurs. And the reason why I was asking them about how they manage to withdraw the money is because it's not just about getting people onboarded to USDC and having USDC delivered to someone. Of course, everyone can have a wallet, and USDC on Stellar is basically free and it's immediate. But it's also about how you're actually going to get people paid in the money they use to pay their rent, to buy food, etc. So that's a particular challenge that we, enabling the future of work with Stellar or with other blockchain assets, have.
So you're kind of asking about the infrastructure and like the on and off ramps that you see yourself and.
Well, yeah, I got his answer to it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I got both of their answers. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's a challenge.
definitely. Rick, you were talking about going into the pandemic as an established anchor on Stellar, having kind of the foundation laid and some of the infrastructure set up that kind of enabled you to transition quickly into and offering this Get Paid service. So can you talk a little bit more about what else you're seeing from users on both sides of the product?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so in the essence, we offer a wallet, of course, to freelancers. It, it, it can be anyone, essentially any individual wanting to receive money from abroad. But of course, you need to have focus, and so we focus especially on the individual doing some sort of online, doing online work that is able to do that online work also remote. So that is specific or focus. And what we've seen very quickly from the beginning that offering a wallet is not enough. It's a bit in line with what Ruben said, like it's a bigger package. So apart from having the infrastructure, we've also seen a lot of people with online skills that don't know how to find clients, for example. So imagine a very good front-end developer with 8 years experience. I mean, if you look in the US, Europe, there's just big need for such talent. But at the same time, that person might be very good in being a developer, but not knowing how to find their clients. So we've seen that is also an important part that
The marketing of their
the
skills.
marketing, like how do they find their clients? So what we also do, and that's the community part, mentioned learn, earn, connect, that those type of users can actually, via our community, find people that are maybe good in marketing or that have a lot of experience on gig platforms. They can connect and share knowledge. And we started doing that early this year, so actually not in the pandemic. And we've seen that has really helped lots of users in actually being able to find eventually work. So it's not only a wallet, it's also what is the added value, like what do you do different than any other wallet? Because there definitely will be more wallets.
Great. Go ahead.
So I got a question for Ruben. Those of you guys might not know this, but me and Ruben have actually known each other like since high school, kind of random. And we ended up seeing each other again when like we were very early companies. I don't know, like 5 years ago, 7 years ago, something like that. And we got investment from like the VC arm of Uphold. And back then, we were like, gonna power Uphold, and you guys had this like really cool back end that was almost like Uber for payments, right? And you were just telling me backstage that you guys have now finally come up with your brand. How did you get from like there to this new brand that you just launched?
Sure. Well, AirTM started as a dollar account to help people in distressed economies, you can say, Venezuela, Argentina, preserve their wealth. Obviously, by giving them access to stable currency. So AirTM was one of the very early stablecoin wallets. But then it was not just about giving people these dollar accounts, it was also about helping them get access to rails to help them deposit local currency into their dollar account and withdraw from dollars to their local currency. And the way we got around that was by building an over-the-counter trading platform for Uphold dollars, a very early version of the stablecoin, like local Bitcoins, like Paxful, like Binance. Well, we created our own marketplace for AirTM dollars. And that took off. And a lot of people in Venezuela, for instance, were buying and selling AirTM dollars by leveraging these basically Uber driver Forex brokers, people at home buying and selling dollars, seizing an arbitrage opportunity. And we started enabling more and more payment methods. So not just your Venezuelan bank account, but your money in PayPal you could use to exchange with this broker, or an Amazon gift card, or a local wallet, etc., cryptocurrencies. And so we started seeing that a lot of people used us for a whole bunch of different purposes. They used us to preserve their wealth, to exchange e-money to local currency, to invest in cryptocurrencies. So for a very long time, AirTM was driven by use cases because people could service a lot of different use cases using our product. And so we would sell AirTM as a use case driven solution. You have this problem, AirTM solves it. You have this problem, AirTM solves it. You have this problem, AirTM solves it. All the while, we were looking at the retention metrics and how good they were, you know. And we noticed that the worst types of users for us were the ones that needed to preserve their wealth. Because what happens if you need to preserve your wealth, but you don't have any disposable income at the end of the month to preserve your wealth or to buy dollars? Well, you can't buy dollars to preserve your wealth. And so that was a bit of a problem. And at the same time, the best users we had were the people that used AirTM to transform PayPal money into local currency, because PayPal's rails were not very good, or still not very good, or Netellers, or Skrills, or Payoneers. And so, putting those two things together, we decided to transform AirTM into a place where people that earn money online could receive payments. Because, you know, well, you don't have money, okay, we'll help you earn. You're using AirTM to transform PayPal money into local currency, okay, why are you getting paid in PayPal in the first place? And so that took us down the earning money online rabbit hole. And so that culminated with the launch of our brand, which launched October 4th, which is really driven by digital entrepreneurs and the issues they have to earn money online. And as you were saying, it's not just about creating the infrastructure for the enterprises, the infrastructure for the digital entrepreneur locally, and the financial infrastructure to help them get paid and cash out, but it's also about helping people understand that there's a whole universe of money-making opportunities online. And so when you talk about you being more of a community, well, AirTM also sees itself as this place where someone with need of a money-making opportunity comes in, and he leaves having made money and basically fed, you know, because we see, and it's both because we believe that that's our mission, helping people be, it used to be financially free, now it's become financially independent of their country because, you know, we're Latin Americans, we need to roll our sleeves up and figure it out, right? But it's also about just getting more users and running a business, which relies on, you know, acquiring users for X and helping them so much that at the end of their lifetime they yield Y times X, you know? And so that's the evolution of our brand.
By building in more flexibility, you've been able to kind of build this community out and, you know.
Well, the community is a bit going into the future, but the community speaks to the way we see our mission, which is owning the whole problem end to end. Not just building the infrastructure, because maybe it won't get adopted. Being active in procuring a digital economy for digital entrepreneurs and helping them get everything they need.
Right.
The earning opportunities by selling enterprise solutions, mass payment enterprise solutions to enterprises, wallets for digital entrepreneurs, and then cross-selling earning opportunities to the 3 million account holders that have an AirTM account.
Right. And a lot of what people can do on AirTM is also peer-to-peer. Is that correct?
When you cash out of AirTM, you do it by leveraging this network of local Forex brokers. There's thousands and thousands of local Forex brokers that whenever you want to cash out, you will basically get your dollars in AirTM, which are USDC on Stellar, bought in this marketplace in a very easy way at a set rate. And in 6 seconds, you get matched with one of our, we call them cashiers. And in 14 minutes, you can go from USDC on Stellar to more than 400 payment methods around the developing world. We have users in 190 countries using AirTM as a way to receive cross-border payments and cash out.
Great. Well, we have a few more minutes, I think, so I'd love to give the audience an opportunity to ask any questions if anyone would like to hear from our speakers.
Thank you. First of all, a big thank you for this session, and it's nice to have a global perspective with South America, with Africa as well. Just a quick question on numbers to Rick and Jonathan. Around how many users are there globally in terms of salaried workers who get paid partially or completely in crypto, would you say? Just a vague number?
Yeah, so the number is growing,
Yeah.
right? Some of the numbers I know in terms of demand, not necessarily in terms of how many people are actually getting paid, but in the United States, it's something along the lines of 30% of millennials and 50% of Gen Z are interested or seeking cryptocurrency as a portion of their salary. In terms of paying internationally, as I mentioned before, these employer of record companies are saying that about 5% of their volume is being paid out in cryptocurrency. And so I don't remember the number of total freelancers there are offhand, but we can just assume that the demand for that as a result is 5%. And that's a global perspective. I know that when they're looking at places like Latin America, that goes up to like 60%. Right? So depending on the jurisdiction, and really it tends to be when there's a lot of local volatility in local currencies where we see more demand, especially for stable coins, and then partially for Bitcoin, where we see this. Another interesting thing is, on our platform, we offer, multiple different currencies, but in terms of our volume, outside of stablecoins and Bitcoin, we only see about 3% of other volatile cryptocurrencies. So what does that signal? It signals that the demand is very high for mostly stablecoins, a little bit of Bitcoin, but the demand is not as high for other cryptocurrencies.
Rick, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I think I can speak about East Africa. What we see, if you look at like age of those or user base, is that it's quite young age, like very often under 30, and we see there is the crypto part. There is some skepticism. What we see with stablecoin, for example, when we started supporting USDC, that has we haven't had a lot of issues with that. I think the target group is quite tech savvy. They know a bit about crypto, stablecoins, and we haven't had any big problems for them accepting it. Exact numbers in the region in terms of freelancers, digital worker, I'm not sure, but at least the users that sign up by us are very willing to accept those assets.
Okay, well, I think that's all the time we have for this panel, but I want to give another thank you to Ruben, Jonathan, and Rick for this great discussion. So let's give them a round of applause.